Hey everyone, so I want to let you know that the new version of Voxel framework is now available on itch.io. I'll leave a link in the description. So let's go ahead and look at what the major changes are. And I do want to say that this will probably be the final version for quite some time. I'm going to move on to other projects. I think I've put enough into this now that you guys can take this and have it be the basis for something really impressive. So let's take a look at what has changed. And this is in no particular order. There's a slight reduction in the amount of images used to make the UI, so all the frames are actually one image. So that simplifies how many images are being used, no big deal. Added a little bit of text here, given instructions for the camera. So this isn't new functionality, this is just given on-screen instructions. We have added two new shapes. So there's this one, and there is this one. And they should stack just like any other shape. So say you did a couple frames, you can then bring this one out, can stack that one on it, or the opposite. So any combination should work on things that can normally be stacked. There's a few objects that you can't stack anything on, but that's by design. Like this one, this one, this one, because they're points or they're round. To me, visually, it didn't make any sense to be able to stack things on it. Okay, so UI simplification, a little more screen text, two new blocks, and the majority of what's been done is really under the hood, and it is code simplification. I do want to clarify, I'm not saying that it's necessarily optimized because you can have very simple code that is resource intensive. So I'm not going to say that it's optimized, but it is simplified and it will scale much better. So let's take a look at what was done. So first of all, I made a change to the current mat variable. This was originally a string and would store the name of the mat that was to be used. As I said, that did not scale well and made for very, very cumbersome coding. Instead, this variable has been changed to an int and now will be used to identify a position in the material array. So what does that mean? If we come over here to block color, you can now see rather than a variable for each and every material, there's now just one variable and it's an array. And so what's happening is that integer simply identifies the position in the array. And so as you can see right here. So what was being done in the previous one is for every single material, there was an if statement and then a mesh renderer statement to apply the material. So every material had a variable and two statements. Now it's just one variable and one statement total. That's it. This now scales incredibly well. I've also added a little inline remark statements, not a lot, but I made a few. People gave me feedback wondering why things were done, and so at least I've provided a little bit of information there. So that's the first one, and so this now scales well because no matter how many materials you add, all you have to do is drag and drop the new material into the inspector, which you had to do anyways in the other version. And you have to add a function for the button in the UI, which of course you'd have to do anyways to say this is the material that's been clicked on, or this is the color that's been clicked on. So that's major and that scales really well now. The second area, again, you can see I put a few more lines of code in here saying why the section is here, but there was a simplification in the placement of meta shapes. So these shapes made out of the blocks, because it simply wasn't, it was very cumbersome before, and really it was just me being lazy. So as you can see, if you watch the previous videos, this has been simplified down to just 6 lines of code. This was a 9x9 square, so unless my math is off, I had 81 instantiate commands. Now I just have 6 lines. So again, much more simplified, and then you can take this and build on it. Like I said, if you wanted to do, say, an 11 square, all you need to do is copy and paste this, give that function a new name, and then just bump these out by 1 each. So now this scales very well, very simplified. Again, I'm not making any claims about better performance, but it absolutely is simplified and scales much better. So I did it with square 9, I did it with square 5. I'd already done it with line 9. I think that was the first one I experimented with. I didn't bother doing line 5. It's only 4 lines of code, but if you want to do it for that, knock yourself out. And I think I'd already started with the triangles in the previous build. Take note, I did not do it with circle. Circle is a different kind of animal. It's not as easy to do, and the amount of time it was going to take me to figure it out probably wasn't worth it. So if you guys want to take a shot at trying to figure out how to simplify that, again, that's your choice. That's something you can add to the project, making it distinct and unique and derivative. But even still, there has been substantial reduction in code for the other ones. Now, there's also been a reduction in code, and this is the third major way that code has been reduced, is the placement of shapes. As I said, when you're placing on tile, that's it. It just places it on the tile, it just instantiates on the tile, and it's very, very simple. However, if you want to place it on another shape, so you're placing you're placing a cube, a block. Sorry, I need to get my verbiage right. You're placing a block on another block. If the shape is that, then you would use these. And then I had several other checks. However, I realized that the code was identical. So this was actually 3 separate if statements. So I think it was 1, 3, and 5, 4 and 10, and then like 9 and 11 were by themselves. So that's all been combined. So as far as lines of code, it's like whatever, 28, 30-ish lines of code, depending on how many if statements I got rid of. So while that might not be a major reduction in code, again, it's still simplification, that it's easy to combine. It's easy to add another shape now, so it's much simpler. So now it's just checking for 0 or 8. It's checking, which are, by the way, the 2 cubes. Just about everything else. And then shape 2, which I believe is one of the wedges. So this might be able to be combined as well. But again, as you can see, vastly reduced because I condensed 3 of the if statements into just 1. So I think that is the majority of the changes. And like I said, that is probably going to be the last update for a while. I want to move on to other projects. I have the beginnings of the free Halloween game that I said I was going to make available for you guys. So I want to get that completed. And then maybe I'll revisit this at a later date. But again, I do believe that there is enough here. I got you guys past the drudge work, that really dreadful part when you're first trying to get something to work. Well, it works now. And now it's just building on it. About the only thing that I'd say this is missing right now is the fact that it cannot be built into an exe, because I did not find any way around the prefab utility issue, because prefab utility cannot be compiled. It can't be built into an exe. So I haven't found a solution to that. So my guess is that if I do figure out a solution for that, that would be the next major update. And then at that point, it's basically done. So again, non-exclusive license, so you all can use this for whatever you want, both commercial or non-commercial. But again, what you do would need to be a derivative work. It would need to be transformative, that you can't just redistribute this as is. So I hope you guys find this useful. If you want to have any additional features, do leave that in the comments, because like I said, I may do one more version. If nothing else, you're giving your colleagues ideas too, because you could say, hey, I'd really like to see this, and someone else may figure it out and let you know how to do it. Okay, so I think that should about do it. I hope this has been useful, and please enjoy the rest of your day.